Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Lobo Tiggre from the IndependentSpeculator.com. He's speaking to us from Puerto Rico. Welcome back to the show, Lobo, and I'm glad to hear that you and your family are okay after that strong earthquake the other day.
I was going to say, it's customary and polite to say, thank you for having me on the show again, Jim, and so on. But today I can really say I'm very happy to be on the show, happy to be alive. It wasn't that big an earthquake, but it was quite alarming. It did have an impact here on us.
Of course,
okay.
The images we see here in Canada and the U.S. Mainland, crushed cars under houses and so on. Was it really that bad?
Well, this is an island, and a lot of beach communities. A lot of houses have this sort of on stilts design to lift them above potential flooding waters. And so you put a big weight of a house and a couple thin cement sticks. It's not too surprising that an earthquake would knock a few of those down. Fortunately, it was at 3:20 something in the morning, so very few people were in their cars under those houses when they fell down. The reality is that as scary as it was, there's only one fatality reported so far. The big problem here is that they took the power grid down for precautionary reasons, and it seems like it's going to be a while before they turn the lights back on, and that's causing a lot of problems, and it will have an economic impact.
Getting on to the world stage, and again, I'm really happy that you and your wife are fine here. Oil, international politics, again, a huge spike. What do you think is going to happen with petroleum?
Oh, well, there's lots of million-dollar questions wrapped up in there. I have to tell you, I've got to be honest here, I'm already wrong about this, so maybe you shouldn't ask me. When the missile strikes happened, not when the missile strikes happened, when the killing of the Iranian general happened, I wrote that it would likely be a while before we saw the Iranian response. I thought that this was a big provocation in their view, and it was not likely that they would just, say angry things and shake their fists, but that they would do the sort of thing that would have a big impact and therefore take weeks of planning and execution to pull about. And lo and behold, within a day or two, we have, missiles striking U.S. air bases in Iraq. And so I was wrong, you could say. On the other hand, I really find it very hard to believe that this is it, and the markets are reacting today. As you and I speak, the major indices in the United States are way up. Gold and oil are retreating because it seems to be that Mr. Market has decided, that's it. That's nothing. We can deal with this. A few misses that didn't even kill any Americans. That's not a problem. So happy days are here again. I think that's, we'll go out on a limb again and say I think that's pretty premature. I think that's naively optimistic. I can't imagine that this is all Iran has. Maybe they just had some old missiles lying around. They decided to fire them off, while we work on something bigger. We'll see. I would be surprised if this is the end of this particular story. That said, I would actually hope so. We don't need war in the Middle East and more death and destruction to push gold and silver, precious metals higher. We have the central banks to thank for that. So I'd be perfectly happy to see this whole thing de-escalate, but we'll see what we see.
We'll have more with Lobo Tiggre right after the break.
Aben Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines. Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the 2019 drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Lobo Tiggre. Lobo, before we went on air, you mentioned that we should keep our eye on the prize here, and that's not so much geopolitics and its effect on oil prices, but what's happening on the monetary side of things. What is happening there, and why is that so important to keep an eye on?
Well, yeah, that's a nice segue from what we were just saying, and you know, the big picture there that I do think people should keep their eye on is that the world is awash in easy money policies. We still have, there are arguments about exactly how much, but there's still, you know, gobsmacking amounts of negative nominal interest rates, which is almost unimaginable. Instead of getting paid interest, you get paid a penalty for time deposits. But on top of that, you have negative real rates. So a lot of people, I think, are distracted by the trade war news or the latest, heating up of conflict in the Middle East and so on. And I'm not saying those things aren't important. We certainly saw gold spike over 1,600 when the news of the missile strikes came in. And, those things do have an impact, but they tend to be shorter lived, whereas monetary policy tends to be deep, powerful, and lasting as the trend goes. And that trend is very bullish for precious metals. So a lot of people are saying, hey, the Fed has paused its rate cuts, that's not bullish for gold. But where they have paused is below the inflation rate. So rates in the United States, real rates in the United States are in fact negative as is. That is an easy money policy right now. They don't need to cut anymore for it to be an easy money policy. And on top of that, you've got the balance sheet expanding again. It's almost back up to $4.2 trillion. It's headed for record territory here. And a lot of people are saying that, well, this repo, liquidity injection is just temporary. This is a short-term market. And that may be true, but the Fed's balance sheet has been expanding at a much faster rate, since this started than it was being unwound before. So we have negative real rates in the United States. You have the Fed expanding its balance sheet, which whether you call it QE or not has a similar impact. And you've got low rates to negative rates around the world, accommodative policies around the world. This is all very bullish for real assets, and safe haven assets like gold and silver. So consider the facts. We have, the trade war, if not coming to an end, at least coming to a ceasefire, a cessation of hostilities. The news seems to have calmed down on the trade war, and a lot of people were saying it was the trade war and the fear of the trade war that was driving gold higher. Well, if that was true, then gold prices should be much lower now that the trade war has also gone on to a cool down mode. But that's not what we see. We saw gold have a terrific month in December. And in my mind, this all comes back to what I was initially saying in this segment, and that is there are a lot of other things impacting the price of gold, silver, and precious metals, yes. But the underlying driver is easy money policies in the U.S. and around the world, and that's not showing any sign of changing anytime soon. It's very bullish for precious metals this year and going forward, and that's where I personally am looking to invest my own hard-earned money.
Now, when we say precious metals, is it just gold, silver, platinum, palladium? Do they play a role?
I love that you asked that. And yes, I do make a distinction there. But I want to qualify that because there is a difference between precious in the sense of expensive. And right now, palladium is more expensive than gold per ounce. Makes it precious. And a monetary metal, a metal that has actually been in circulation and used as money. And even platinum really is not a monetary metal. So platinum, palladium, rhodium, some of these others, they are expensive, they're valuable, but they're industrial metals, and their bigger trends are driven by industrial issues. Palladium is not higher than gold now because suddenly people around the world have decided that palladium is a great safe haven to go to for protection. It's there because it's needed for catalytic converters in cars. There's a supply crunch, and it's simple supply and demand, industrial supply and demand, not safe haven. That having been said, you can watch the short-term volatility in these metals, and they all do tend to move as a group. On when gold spiked over 1,600, there was a pop in palladium and platinum too, as well. So I'm not saying they never move together, but I am saying that if you pull back and look at the big picture, the trends can be quite different. And we have seen over the years times when platinum trended lower for years, even as gold was trended up. Same in palladium. So it's important not to confuse these preciously valuable industrial minerals with actual safe haven precious metals. And so really, when I say it, I really mean gold and silver.
Yeah, I almost can judge the price of platinum and palladium by the number of thefts of the mufflers off of big pickup trucks, because they contain about $3,500, $4,000 worth of platinum or palladium.
Well, on the palladium side, platinum's still struggling. It's quite interesting to me that the world of credit cards has not started rebranding their platinum. Is still considered a higher level card than a gold card, even though for years gold's been more expensive than platinum. What are you going to do?
I was going to say for a while it could have been cobalt.
Yeah. Well, and these things change, We'll have to see.
We'll have more with Lobo Tiggre right after this.
Cypress Development Corp is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Lobo Tiggre. Lobo, did anything really happen to the uranium market? We were expecting some kind of announcement from the U.S. government about that.
No. In terms of the specific thing that everybody was hoping for, some sort of decisive action on the part of the United States government to support U.S. production, or not, just the end of the question of what the U.S. government will or won't do on that front is a catalyst, a near-term catalyst many of us have been looking for in the uranium space. It hasn't happened yet. I'm not sure if it had happened yet when you and I last spoke, but there was a leak apparently from Trump's nuclear fuel working group that they have in fact recommended to the president that he take some action, mostly ordering U.S. agencies, the military, to step up domestic purchases of uranium. But the president hasn't made any announcement. And, that working group was established by Trump. It's not something that's required by law to put out a press release saying what it recommended. And there's no law that says the president has 90 days to respond or something, the way there was with the Section 232 filing with the Department of Commerce. There was statutory requirements for the president to respond to that within a certain time frame. So this may just be something that never happens, honestly. Utilities have lots of shareholders and they vote, and the utilities may not want to see the president do anything to boost uranium prices. So it could be that this thing we never get a final answer, the final chapter, yes or no, we never get an answer. But that I would see as sort of a worst case scenario. If that's what's going to happen, we're probably going to see uranium prices languish for some months, maybe quarters longer. But at the end of the day, the utilities still need uranium for their current power plants. And yes, even if you make the worst case assumptions of decommissioning of plants and we're moving away from nuclear energy, it's still an absolutely essential and irreplaceable part of the mix for now. And those utilities have to maintain certain levels of inventory, which we're all fairly certain have been drawn down. So the one sort of optimistic thing I can add that is recent to the mix is there's news out that the Japanese utilities had just signed 2 big contracts buying over $1 billion worth of uranium from Uzbekistani producers. Unfortunately, those press releases haven't said what the price of those contracts was. We'd like to see the utilities coming back to the table and agreeing to higher prices. It's hard to imagine that those could have been signed at anywhere near current spot prices because they're so low. But whatever the reality of that is, we're still waiting to find out. It's still a very telling thing if the Japanese utilities are buying at all. That's a lot of uranium taken off the market. And the fear has been that after Fukushima, these Japanese utilities that have decades of uranium fuel on hand would be continuing to sell and keep the prices down. So if they're buying over there from miners, not just from each other or above ground supply, if they're going to the miners to secure long-term supplies, that's really telling, and it's very bullish for the uranium space. But that having been said, I have to say to all our uranium bug friends out there, this trade may still require quite a bit of patience from us. That having been said, I am still very optimistic, and I do think that we're starting to see buying, and I think we'll see more buying this year, and I do think it's going to come in at much higher prices than current spot. So I'm very optimistic that my uranium bets will work out. If not, oh well, I'm glad that most of my portfolio is in precious metals, because those are certainly looking up this year. Not hopefully, but in fact right now.
In a world where the geopolitics can really change it in a split second, is there anything as a safe haven like gold?
I really don't think there is. I noticed this time that Bitcoin went up at the same, but it's apparently driven by the same news that drove gold and silver up over the last few days. So it may seem that some people are thinking of Bitcoin as a safe haven. But we've seen other times where there's been safe haven buying in precious metals in recent months. Safe haven buying drove people into gold and silver and the dollar at the same time, but not Bitcoin. So I think it's a bit premature to say that there's anything else that would work as well as gold and silver. It may be that there is. I don't know. What I do know is that for thousands of years, gold and silver have functioned as safe havens, and they continue to do that now. So I feel no particular need to look for anything else. The one more thing that I would add to that is that there has been some concern that silver is no longer a safe haven metal. It's become more of an industrial metal. That's true. There are many, many new uses for silver that keep being discovered almost every day, it seems. And there's tremendous increased use of silver in solar panels. It turns out that it's really good for that. But that hasn't changed the fact that silver does respond to safe haven buying. So it's still a safe haven asset. It's still a precious metal. It's in many ways a great crossover. If you're concerned about geopolitics or easy money, debasing the currencies and sending safe haven assets like gold and silver higher, that's a reason to buy silver. If you think the powers that be are going to kick the can down the road, keep the economic expansion in the U.S. going, restart the global economy, get it heating up again, and that industrial minerals are going to have a great day in the sun again in 2020, well, that's a reason to buy silver. I'm not sure that both of those are true, but silver gives you a win-win way to play this year going forward. So I'm bullish on a number of things, but I have to say my highest priority right now is to find great silver plays to add to my portfolio.
Lobo, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Well, thank you for having me on. And if people want to know what I am adding, of course, they can stop by independentspeculator.com. We have a free, no spam, I promise, weekly email service, and of course the paid letters there for anybody who's interested.
My guest has been Lobo Tiggre from the independentspeculator.com. You can find him on Twitter at Due Diligence Guy. He was speaking to us from Puerto Rico. If you have any questions for Lobo or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. You can also find us on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.